welcome to Ghoulin Around. We're going to do the 90's today, and I'm going to be your host, Joanne Massey.
Jason Massey, as always.
And I'm Loretta Mooney.
Today, we're going to go over my 5 picks from the 90's, and pretty much what we did is I picked the movies and make them watch them, and make them make a list of likes, dislikes, and does it hold up. So, my first movie, I actually went in alphabetical order, so don't take it as my favorite or least favorite, but it is my favorite. Army of Darkness. This is actually the 3rd movie in the Evil Dead series, and I've been a huge fan of the Evil Deads ever since watching the first one. And so the premise of this one is kind of Ash is transported back into time during like the medieval days, and the Lord Arthur thinks that he's one of Duke Henry's men and wants to capture him and kill him, and throws him in a pit with one of the Deadites, and he actually slays the Deadite and comes back out, and they think, oh, well, maybe he can get the Necronomicon from the graveyard. So then he goes to the graveyard to retrieve the Necronomicon, but he cannot remember the 3 important words, and unleashes the Army of Darkness, which is actually himself, the evil self, and he has to battle this Army of Darkness. Jason, what was one of your likes about it?
It was such a fun movie to watch. It's one of those, I'd say it's more of a horror comedy than definitely a straight horror movie. It's such a funny movie. Like, if you love the B-type movie comedy, that's your movie to go to.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has a story that's pretty good. It's pretty, you can follow it, and it's actually interesting, and then it has so much comedy in it that, takes it away. And it's just a nice mix. And all the characters are pretty good.
What about you? What did you like about the movie?
Well, I like the fact that it wasn't as cheesy as the second one. First of all, can't believe you made me watch that one. No, it was a little odd for me because I never had watched any of the Evil Deads before, but as far as I did like the first one actually quite a bit. And then the second one, I think I really didn't care for. It was so cheesy, and then just the lines and stuff in it was just pretty horrible. The Army of Darkness was not as cheesy. It did have an actual good plot. I did like it. He was pretty funny. So that, I think, is probably what I liked about it. I liked the Army of Darkness. It was kind of fun to watch these skeletons coming up out of the ground and, coming after everybody, but I liked it.
It was definitely one of those nice horror movies that has so much comedy in it that it's just you enjoy watching the horror movie. It's one of the horror movies that you love it because you're not scared, but a lot of horror movies you don't like the movie because you're not scared. This one is just you're too busy laughing.
Yeah.
Like the Little Ashes, there's literally a point in the movie where Ash fights
little miniatures,
little Ashes. Literally they're running around, and at one point they tie him down Gulliver's Travels style, where he's all tied down and the little Ashes are making fun of him.
I like the part when he was fighting those with the nail. Mm-hmm. When he went to go step, and the one would pick the nail up,
and the nail holds it
and holds it up.
Yeah. And then he splits into 2 different people, his good self and bad self. His bad head, it comes off of him and splits into another one.
It just starts forming on him, and then after 5 minutes, it just splits off, and you have an evil Ash and an Ash.
Yeah.
And that becomes the antagonist for the movie, is the evil Ash. It sounds outrageous, but I promise it makes sense.
What was some dislikes that you didn't like?
Just how dated it looked.
Yeah. Because
the Evil Dead franchise, it's not that good on special effects, obviously. But, this one, the 3rd one in the 90's, I thought oh, it's the 90s, maybe it's a little better than the first and second one.
No.
And you watch it and it's like, yeah, those effects aren't good. But some of the effects is like, they're bad good. Like, they're not good, but they're also like, that's enjoyable.
I think the part that I was kind of confused on is when they had him in the thing with his hands all in the wood part. I'm like, why is his hand stuck in there? Because he doesn't have a hand on there. So what's holding him in? I'm like,
yeah,
he doesn't have a hand. So why is it still stuck in there? I mean, I was making fun of things like that, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's probably like the thing that caught me. It was like, not that he could do anything because he didn't have a hand, but why is it still stuck in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I really disliked about the movie was the first 5 minutes, and that completely retcons the entire second movie. Like, they open up, and at the end of the second one, he kills a Deadeye, and then all of King Arthur's men basically celebrate him as a hero. In the Army of Darkness, it opens, and they completely just don't go over that. He gets arrested and taken, and it's like, what about the second one? It even summarizes the second one, like, he basically narrates it. He's like, oh, I went up to the cabin with Linda and all this crazy shit started happening. And it refilms some of the scenes. It's like, just use scenes from the second one. Yeah, like when he cut off his hand, they completely just reshot that. And Linda looked completely different. So yeah, that was one of my main things, is that it was one of those movies where it doesn't flow together nicely.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem with the Evil Deads, especially since I love them so much. It's not that hard to just start where you left off. Yeah, like, I don't understand why you have to redo it. The second one
shouldn't even be, at all.
And that's what bothers me about this franchise. It's just like, why did you have to do that? Just pick up where you left off.
If they had gone from just the first, maybe, and then just, went to like the third one, it would have been a little bit better, because when you get to the second one, you're just like, didn't we already do this?
Yeah. It was like the first
cheesier
one all over
again.
Cheesier.
Yeah, but cheesier. The second one, it felt like you were watching it with a film of cheese in front of your camera.
I was doing some research on the Evil Dead, and I believe somewhere I had read that was their plan. They was going to take Army of Darkness as the second one. That was their plan, to do it as the second one. The second one wasn't supposed to exist. But they had something with the copyright laws for the first one. They actually ended up losing it, or losing the copyright for it. So they actually had to go back and kind of redo it. And that's why Evil Dead 2 exists. Because something had happened with Evil Dead 1 where they had lost the copyright or something to it. So they couldn't just keep going.
It's always studios, isn't it? Interfering with everything.
And so do you think it holds up?
Yeah, in terms of comedy and like quality. In terms of graphics and just looks, it looks very dated.
Yes, that's for sure.
And the special effects are very stop motion-y for the time. Like, you can tell, like, oh, here's where they like forced the thing into here. Yeah.
Yeah, all the skeletons getting up out of the ground.
That was very
very
jagged looking.
Yeah, that was. In today's society, we could film that a lot better.
Yeah.
Although the effects for his evil dude after he comes back from the dead, it's pretty good looking.
Yeah.
Wasn't the worst.
He's not good looking. But
well, yeah. He looks nasty, and in a good way.
I think it does. I mean, obviously, it's a huge franchise. There's a lot of people that love the Evil Dead. But yeah, right? I don't know why I have that on my brain, but
let's do a crossover: the Evil Walking Dead.
The Evil Walking Dead.
Ash fights zombies. Rick fights deadites.
Right?
I'd watch that.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it does hold up. It's I don't think the second one would if it was by itself, only because it was not done very well. But I think once you put them all together, I think it does hold up.
Yeah, the series as a whole is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 1 and 3
Just
definitely
watch 1
make
and
up for 2.
3. Just watch 1 and 3 and you'll be good.
It's like watch 2 if you have spare time. But if you just want to watch the good ones, watch 1 and 3 because 3 summarizes 2. So you don't have to watch 2.
I think besides the skeletons, when Ash is constantly saying groovy, I think that really outdates the movie.
It does.
So it's like nobody says groovy anymore.
No. I was waiting the entire movie for him to say it. Like when he finally said it, I was like, he said it. All right, now let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. So that's about it for the Army of Darkness. My second movie is going to be Cube. Not a lot of people have actually heard of that movie. I really liked it because it was kind of like a Saw aspect, but it came out way before Saw did. And where these group of strangers are actually taken and their memories are kind of wiped. And they're stuck inside these cube rooms, and it's like it's a giant Rubik's Cube, and these things, the rooms constantly move. And they have to figure out which rooms are booby-trapped and which ones they can go through that are safe to find the exit point. And these characters just start going insane. I mean, the cop himself just...
He
loses his mind. So I really liked this movie, especially as a psychological thriller. Mm-hmm. And it had its horror, gory parts as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the very beginning, it opens up with the same guy who played Death in Supernatural, which I was like, oh my god, he's in this movie. 5 minutes later, he gets like cut into a million pieces by basically a grid trap that swings down, cuts him into cubes, and he dies, and it was pretty nicely shot.
Yeah.
Like, it looks good.
Yeah. I think a lot of the special effects look good in that movie. I really do. And it wasn't too gory.
No,
I mean, it wasn't as gory as the Saw movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they did make it really good.
Yeah, it was a very nicely executed film. Like, the plot was nice, the graphics, but the visuals. Yeah. It's very nice.
Well, even that, and with the strangers, you just think, oh, these people were just put in here, but they actually serve a purpose, every single one of them.
Every one of them.
So, and they don't actually figure that out. So about halfway through the movie, they're like, oh, wait, we all are here because of our abilities.
And it's like, oh, you're a doctor, she's a mathematician, I'm a cop.
Yeah. So I thought it was very well thought out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even I just liked the look of the rooms. Like, when it shows them in the rooms look nice. Like, it's a nice set. Especially how it has the different color rooms.
Green.
Like, there's the green, blue, and the red. Yeah. I want to go back to the blue.
What did you not like about the movie?
I feel like I'd have to, like, nitpick here, but, well, with the fact that, like, the characters very much are, like, all right, you're designated as this person, like, you're the nurse, you're the cop, blah, blah, blah. It very much gives them that stereotypical feel where it's like, oh, we're just taking one of each character and putting it in there, even though that's part of the purpose. But it kind of does make their characters bland, but the fact, like, in the very beginning and basically throughout half the movie, they don't remember much. So the characters are very, oh, I just remember I'm a cop, blah, blah, blah. But as they learn more and remember, well, they don't really remember, but they kind of, like, know stuff.
Yeah.
It really fleshes out their characters. So that's a dislike and like about it. Both in one.
My dislike, I think, was probably the ending. On just, him standing in the light after he got out, and it's like, okay, I want more. I want to know who did this. I want to know, does he actually get to live after he gets out? Or, I disliked the way that it ended. I did not like that.
Yeah. It was one of those movies that poses a lot of questions and then doesn't answer it.
Yes.
They actually shot 3 of these movies, and the second one, called Hypercube, is not even worth it, does not tie along to any of them, so just forget that one exists. But Cube Zero, which is the third one, he actually ended up watching it because he was like, I want to know more. And I was like, watch Cube Zero. Because it actually is like, it's the prequel, and it's also... Prequel. Yes, I know. It's before that one, and it's outside of the cube. It's the people that are videotaping them and watching them, and you get to see the behind the scenes of what's going on.
And you basically learn like the function of the cube, like how people are selected to go in and what happens and whatnot, and what happens when people leave, if they do leave. And it's very much a nice thing to watch, because the first one, like, I was the entire movie, you're like, oh, what is this cube? Why is this here? What happens if you do get out? And then the movie ends and it doesn't answer any of those.
No, it doesn't
and
answer any of them.
And then you watch Cube Zero, and from the very beginning, you learn more and more as the movie goes on. And
yeah, you learn a lot.
It's very nice to see. I feel like they basically made the movie to explain the first.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand it.
Or to answer those questions, not really explain it. I mean, you can kind of figure out what's going on. They were kidnapped, you know, in their daily lives and thrown in here to try to escape. But, yeah, that was, I think, probably my dislike, is I just didn't, I wanted to know what happened afterwards.
Because the ending is very... like, all of a sudden, like, the last three of them basically get to the exit, and then the one guy gets out, and the other two, like, basically keep each other in there for one guy to kill the cop, because the cop goes insane. And he stays in there, sacrifices himself because he got stabbed, so he's going to bleed out, and the last guy escapes, and then he's standing in this giant white room. Movie ends.
Yeah.
And you're like, what happened? Did he live? So that was definitely a bummer of the movie.
Yeah. Do you think the movie holds up?
Yeah, it looks very nice. The one thing that I would say that doesn't hold up that well is every now and then, like, the way it's shot looks a little weird. Like, sometimes it zooms in on, like, parts of the walls, and the walls, like, it edits it so it makes it look all wobbly. Like, do you remember those scenes? Like, there's one scene where they decide to, like, take an hour nap or something.
Yeah.
And so it does, like, this montage where it, like, shows parts of the wall, and the walls are wobbly, and the soundtrack is, like, some lady going, ah, tick, tick, tick. Yeah. So those parts of the movie are very, like, all right, what? But besides that, it looks pretty good.
I think it holds up. They did a very good job creating these things and making you wonder, okay, what's in the next room? You know, it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. Oh, they're going in another one. Okay, what's going to happen in this one? Oh, okay, what's going to happen in this one? You know, so yeah, I think it holds up very well.
I like that, like, they're using their boots to trigger these traps.
Yes.
And they think just from throwing the boot in there, because it's like a sensor, it'll sense it and the trap will activate.
I like the noise activated one. That one was actually very cool.
They actually can't use that later on because they jump into a room they think is safe, and it's activated like with heat, I think it is.
Yeah.
And so they jump in there and it senses the heat instead of the noise or the movement, and so the guy dies, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I thought the boot would activate this, so now you've got different sensors that you've got to figure out on top of it.
And then later they encounter one that goes off of noise, so they basically take the time to, like, try to get through without any noise, and then the cop guy is the last to go through, and the one guy almost sets it off by accident.
Yeah. So they have this, like, special needs guy in there, and so he doesn't understand that he needs to be quiet, so they try to get him to play this game where he can't make any noise, but of course he wants to yell because he thinks all the spikes coming out is really cool.
Yeah. Like, there's a scene where he's looking in the room and he's like, trap, and then the spikes come out, and then he waits and then he says trap again, and it does it again.
Yeah. And so he likes it, but they're like, no, you can't do that.
And the cop gets through and he almost slips up, but he manages to save it, and the guy gets excited, so he's like, yeah, and then it sets it off. So that was definitely a good scene in the movie. Yeah.
I really liked the characters that they picked. I think they were all pretty good. Let's see if my
I liked the map mathematician lady.
Yeah.
She was nice. Yeah. I've wanted her to make it out, and then she ended up getting stabbed by the cop.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they, were all going to get out there for a minute, and it was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like the cop. That was the only one I was like, no.
Yeah, at first I thought I was
when he dropped the one.
Yeah, the nurse lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, he helps her up and then drops her.
Or the nurse, yeah. Yeah, helps her up and then just...
Nurse. Yeah.
All right, so the third movie we're going to talk about is the mini-series that they did of It. I'm pretty sure a lot of horror fans know what It is already about, but pretty much this came out in, 1990 exactly, I think?
I think it was.
It was 90 or 91.
Because they aired it on TV and then eventually took all the episodes, compiled it into a 3-hour-long movie. It's very long, but very worth it.
So basically this is based off the Stephen King book called It, and usually it's a clown that torments these kids and like tries to place fear in them because he's going to eat them. And as they encounter this being, he shapeshifts into your worst fear, and then they have to face it later on as adults because they thought they had killed it, but it actually didn't die, so now they have to face it as adults all over again.
They make a pact that if it ever comes back, that they would come back to fight him again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's basically what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What were your likes about the original series?
About the original series, I very much liked all the actors in it. The actors did pretty good. Like
they had an all-star cast for that one.
Yeah, like a lot of big names are in that. Like Tim Curry as Pennywise is the best part of the movie.
It is. He made...
He really did a good job.
He was the best part of the whole miniseries, in my eyes.
Yeah, all the characters in there were very nice. Like, all the actors just seemed to fit the parts and whatnot. So, it very much felt like the characters were the characters.
Yeah. And I believe all of us have actually read the book, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even after reading the book and rewatching the miniseries, it still feels pretty good. Like some of the characters don't exactly fit the descriptions of what's in the book, but even they still look pretty good. Like I would imagine it's like, yeah, she's basically Beverly. So
what did you like about this?
Tim Curry. Sorry. He really did the best as far as creep factor for Pennywise, and just I think he probably made pretty much the whole movie what it was. I didn't like some of the actors in it. I do like John Ritter. John Ritter was a great actor, but I did not like him for his serious roles. I don't think he really was very good in that one. But I liked a lot of what they had put into the mini-series. They kept a lot of things from the book. Of course, obviously, they had to keep a lot of things out, too.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
There's a lot. They took out. Yeah, there's some things that you just can't put on screen.
Especially for the time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and it was on television.
And it was on television.
Yeah.
So they had to really kind of take a lot of parts out, but they did their best at that to try to put pretty much everything from the book in there. Mm-hmm. But I that's what I liked about it. They kind of held to the story.
Yeah, from what they kept in and what they added in place of what they took out, it very much made it its own like adaptation. Like it was a very good adaptation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you like about it?
I really enjoyed the kids more than the adults. I didn't care for the adult story very much. Even in the book, I really didn't care for the adult story. Mm-hmm. I love the kids story so much.
Yeah, the kids story is very much more...
I think maybe because it's more innocent, and you do have that bond where kids bond with other children, more than adults do. Adults don't usually bond like that.
Yeah.
Plus, in the kids' story, like, they're they don't know each other. So like even as they're fighting Pennywise and trying to figure out what it is, they're getting to know each other, and like it just feels genuine to watch these kids like get together. And then but as adults you're like, oh, they just know each other.
Well, that, and you also have like the kids versus adults. Kids have more irrational fears, like monsters, like the werewolf. Yes. Like I think it's Richie that sees him as a werewolf.
I think it is Richie.
Yeah. And you know, as adults, you grow out of those fears.
Your fears are more like, oh, taxes, rent,
yeah.
college loans.
Yeah. Your,
like, how
your
can
fears change.
Pennywise walks in the room, he's just a bundle of cash.
That's going to eat you, apparently. Yeah. So I did enjoy the kids more, and I really liked them, and I was really worried about when they made the remake of how they were going to get these kids to do good, because I loved Seth Green. Seth
Green was a great Richie.
Yes.
And great.
Richie's like my favorite, so like Seth Green playing Richie, I was like, they can't redo this. And the remake was
Finn Wolfhard
great.
Play Richie, and he did pretty good as well.
Yes, they all did.
They all did. Really I loved all the kids in the new one. They were all just absolutely hilarious, and they fit the part, and they had the bond. I think they really did a good job with the remake also, with that part of it.
Yeah. What was some dislikes?
I think for both of us, I can speak about the fact that throughout the entire miniseries, like, it's very much faithful to the book in the fact that throughout the story, it flips back and forth between the kid and the adult story. And in the book, it's really more annoying when you're reading it, because you're like, if you take time away from the book and you get back to where you're going, it's like, all right, are they the kids right now? Are they the adults right now? Because you have no visual cue. Like, but in the miniseries, it's like, oh, there's the kids, there's the adults. But the constant swapping back and forth is still kind of annoying. It's like one of those movies where it's like, I just want you to go in chronological.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you just start getting into what either the kids or the adults, whatever part you're watching, you just start getting into that, and you really just kind of starting to feel it, and then it jumps to the opposite one, and then it just, you start, okay, gotta start getting into this one, and then it jumps again. And you kind of get that, for lack of a better word, kind of a whiplash type of feeling from it, because you just don't get the whole story from start to end. You've got that story and that story going in between.
Mm-hmm. See, in the book, it makes a little more sense in the fact that they keep jumping back and forth, because in the book, every time it jumps back is when usually the characters remember something else or learn something that they did.
It still is very hard to follow in the book, though.
It's really hard to follow in the book, especially towards the end of the book, because at the end of the book, both the child versions of them and the adult versions of them encountered Pennywise in the same place.
And
it keeps cutting in between, and it's kind of describing the same thing. So you're like, are they the kids right now? And then it mentions Stan, and you're like, all right, so they are the kids, because Stan's dead right now.
Yeah. I say that was definitely a thing for me, especially with the book. Because the book, I do the audible books, and I listen to them when I'm driving around, so then I would, get to my destination, shut it off. By the time I get back in the car, I'm just like, well, was I on the adult story or am I on the kid's story? Because I didn't stop chapter to chapter. I'd stop whenever I got to my destination, so I can't even remember which storyline I was even on.
Yeah, one time that really jarred me was I was listening to it, and I got to the point where they encountered it in its lair towards the end. And then for some reason, I took like a week off where I didn't listen to the book at all. And I was like, I should finish the book. I have like 30 minutes left. And I started listening to it, and I was like, what's happening? Because it just references them as like she and him every now and then. And it starts off as like, she jumped over here and grabbed this. And I was like, all right, who's she? Is the she adult?
Yeah.
So.
I also didn't like, because obviously we were too young to watch this on TV. So we watched it in the movie form. and you got all these commercial pauses throughout the movie, and you're like, oh, there was a commercial there. So you had these pauses as you're watching this movie, and I didn't really like that either.
Yeah, it feels very much like it should be a TV show. I mean, it is supposed to be a TV show.
It was.
Because it very much does have those pauses, and almost all those pauses are like a fade to black. And so it just stops, and like the music ramps up and it fades to black, and you're like, all right, there was a pause there.
Yeah.
All right, there was a pause there. One of the things I mention all the time when I talk about the original miniseries is there's one cutaway that I laugh every time I watch the movie. I think it's when they're in the library as adults, and there's a cutaway where the episode, I guess, ends, and it zooms in on Bill because he remembers something, and he literally does this and zooms in and cuts away. And every time I watch it, I just can't help but laugh because it's so cheesy.
So do you think it holds up today?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good movie in terms of today's standards. Like, the story is very good. The only thing I would say that doesn't hold up is some of the effects. Like the one scene where Pennywise is tormenting, what's his name?
Are you talking about the drain scene?
Yes.
Eddie,
yeah. And he's in a public shower. Well, not a public shower.
It's in the gym showers at school.
It's more or less public. But, yeah. So he goes in there by himself, and he's taking a shower, and then all of a sudden the shower heads start coming out of the walls towards him. And there's one part where he's crouched in a corner, and then Pennywise comes out of the drain, and he sticks his hands through and then opens it. But while it's opening, it's very, very much a stop motion scene that you can see. And as you're watching it, it feels like the film's as it's happening. And it's just you watch that scene, you're like, all right, they could have done a little better there.
Yeah, that was the one scene that I picked as an example that does not hold up. It's just because he puts his hands through the drain, pulls it apart, and you got these tiles that are supposed to be breaking away, but they kind of just
morph.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look that good.
Yeah, it doesn't look very good at all.
It makes the tiles look more like putty than tiles.
Yeah. But I think it holds up, and I think it's going to hold up for a long time, and I think the reason for that is obviously it's a Stephen King story, and Stephen King is very, very popular, book form and movie form. He just had 4 or 5, come out in the last couple of years alone, and he does wonderful writing. I love reading his stuff, but I think it's always going to hold up for that fact.
Yeah, it's always going to be a good movie.
And, they did a great job with casting Pennywise for this one, and they did a great job trying to make it book form to screen for what they could do.
Yeah, I always recommend that to people who don't watch a lot of horror movies. I'm like, watch the original It. It's 3 hours, but watch it.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about Salem's Lot next time, and that was 3 hours too.
Yeah, that was also a mini series, so that's why.
Oh, it was.
Oh yeah, it was definitely
a mini series.
Yes, The Stand was a mini series also.
Okay, because I remember watching The Stand, and I was I had those cutscenes where the commercials are supposed to be.
But that's why Salem's Lot has it too, is because it was originally a mini series. Well, actually, even the remake was a mini series also.
Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is the Puppet Master franchise, actually the third one for the most. So the first Puppet Master was actually in 1979, or 89.
Yeah.
The other ones came out, 2 through 7 came out in the 90s. And the third one has to be my favorite so far. When I first started writing this episode, I didn't realize there was 13 Puppet Master movies.
A lot.
Yeah. I had watched these back in the 90s, so obviously I haven't watched all the way up to 13, but I had watched the 90s ones. And these, I don't know why I liked these so much as a kid, but I just loved the puppets because you could really relate to them in these stories. So a little bit about the third puppet master is it actually goes back in time and talks about the original puppet master and how he found this formula. Was it the formula in this one?
I think so.
It was a formula?
Yeah.
That he's giving to the puppets.
Yeah, sorry, in another one, it's like a spell, so that's why I get really confused. It keeps changing the storylines. Mm-hmm. But in the third one, it goes back to like during the Nazi time in Nazi Germany, and he was Jewish. Him and his wife were Jewish, and they had put on a puppet display of these puppets for killing a Hitler puppet. And of course, there was a Nazi in the background that was like, "No, we're not going to do that.
Don't do that."
So he informed his general, and he's like, "No, we can't have people making fun of Hitler." And he goes and kills his wife. So the puppet master gets upset and wants revenge, and he sets his puppets out to kill Nazis. And who doesn't like a
good
horror movie?
old-fashioned Nazi killing.
Yeah, killing Nazis. So this one was my favorite. So what did you guys like about this one?
The third one, I thought it was great because you watch the first one and it basically like the first one is more or less simple in that it's typical slasher more or less film where it's like, oh, there's guests in a hotel, puppets are killing guests. And then the second one, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And then, because like the first one, it kind of shows him, the puppet master, with his puppets, and you see their kind of like relationship. And the second one explains it even more, but you're still like, oh, where'd he get the puppets? Why is he like this? And then this one goes back in time and shows why he's doing this and how these puppets are his trusted friends. Like you learn the origin of the puppets.
Yeah.
So that was what I liked about it. I love origin films.
Do you have any likes about these?
I know how much you love these films.
Probably, I think the thing that I liked about the third one was the way they told the story. Obviously, the origin of the puppets, but it did have a storyline to it. It wasn't just the whole throw them in, start slashing everybody up type of movie, which is what you get with a lot of horror movies. It's just a slasher movie, but it did have a plot. So I mean, it was decent for that.
Mm-hmm. That and like the first two, you're like, oh, the puppets are evil, and the third one, you're like kind of rooting for the puppets. You're like, yeah, puppets, go.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you want him, the puppet master, to like succeed and win. Even though in the second one you like hate him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The fourth one, if you actually continue watching them and you go to the fourth one, they actually get a puppet master that's like in his young 20s, and he just wants to play with them. So they actually bond to him very well, and they actually are like, I think the title for that one is When Bad Puppets Go Good.
Yep.
Like
that's when they turn good.
Yeah, they actually save him from these other creatures. So you kind of get this, the puppets don't talk at all, so they just kind of make like noises like grunts and stuff.
More grunts and laughs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like if their face is a smile, they'll laugh, or if their
gagging
face
noises.
is a grin, they're
gagging noises. Yeah.
There's one puppet in there in the first, I think she shows up in the second one for like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
She's in the first and the second one, but she's
definitely
not in the third.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
he
she
makes
is.
Her.
She is?
That's his wife.
That's when he makes her, yeah.
That's his wife.
And her whole spiel is that she vomits leeches onto people. And so every scene she's in, all her noises are just her gagging and like retching.
Yeah.
And it's like as you're listening, you're like, stop. Stop, get it over with.
Yeah.
But my favorite guy is Six Shooter, who is a cowboy puppet. He has 6 arms and 6 pistols, and he's a cowboy. And his face is a permanent, like, giant, cheesy grin. And all his noises, I love him. Every time he's on screen, he's just like, it's so good. Like, the one time, like, when one of the puppets die or something, he's supposed to be sad, and he's like, it sounds like no different, but just like a little tone less. It's so good.
So what is some dislikes?
Timeline.
The timeline, yeah.
Timeline is the biggest one for me.
They don't adhere to the timeline. Just like the Evil Dead franchise, it kind of doesn't follow it.
Yeah. Well, the timeline is like so way off when you watch the first 3 just alone. I don't even know how much further the timeline
it gets so
jacked up after that.
So
but
like just in the first 3, in the first movie, it opens up and it says 1941, and so it shows him
1939.
The first one was 1939, and the Puppet Master killed him. Yeah. Puppet Master kills himself,
and then in the second one, it opens up with his
grave and it says 1941.
And then the third one opens up with him in Germany in 1939.
Yeah. So
the timelines just really don't mesh in these things.
Because it would make sense if it was 1939 and then he went and killed himself in 1941.
No, the first one, he died in 1939. He killed himself.
Yeah.
And then they found his grave and it said 1941, and I was like, no, it was 1939.
I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah, to rewatch it.
Yeah, because the
either way,
it doesn't
matter.
one.
Doesn't matter. It just does not line up.
They just do their own thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, like, the third one, you find out about this formula that brings these puppets to life, and that's how he gets these puppets. Well, then I think the 6th or 7th one, it goes back in time again when he was a kid, when he first meets his wife, and he gets the spell to create these puppets. Well, they showed
that in the second one, though, didn't they? Or was that the first one?
That was the
No, they can, like, completely redo it on, like, the 6th and 7th
even after
one.
that?
Yeah. And then they completely screw it up again. And I'm just like, no, he didn't get these till later on in life. So, they screw up the timeline pretty bad.
Yeah.
They're still good, though.
It's like, just watch him to watch him. Don't analyze the timeline. Because then you'll be like full-on conspiracy theorist where it's like, maybe he went through a time portal and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure probably by like the 11th one or something. It's
There's got to be something because the timelines just don't add up. And I'm sure somebody that's a huge fan of the franchise is going, please make this right at some point.
If you're a huge fan of the Puppet Master franchise, leave a comment down below.
Yeah, please let us know how this happened.
Let us know what we got wrong. But yeah, the one thing I don't think holds up that well is the puppet animations.
So like the thing with the puppets is like in the beginnings ones that you guys watch, like the animation for the puppets is really bad, but once you get, I think, to the 4th one, they actually started using like real puppets, so it actually looks really good. But you can actually see the strings.
Okay.
You can see the strings on some of the shots, and it's like, it kind of ruins it.
Yeah. Like a lot of the scenes, like they like CG the puppets, and it doesn't exactly look that good.
No, especially like the one part where Tunneler like starts spinning his thing and he like leans down and he starts running, and it's like that looks fake.
Yeah, it does.
The one effect that holds up that I love and we love is when Jester's face spins.
Yes, Jester is my favorite.
So his head is divided into 3 sections.
Cool. He is pretty cool. I do like the way that they got that to look.
Yeah.
I think if it didn't look as good, I don't think I would really like him as much if it looked really bad.
Yeah.
But that is so cool the way they made his face do that.
Yeah, so like Jester has like these cuts. Like he's got a cut here and a cut here. So he like spins his 3 cuts of a head in different directions, and it makes this whining noise. And he can actually change his expression that way from like a smile to like a frown.
You'll see him smiling, it'll spin, and then it'll come out as a frown.
Yeah. So he's pretty cool. He's my favorite.
And then in, I think it's the 2nd and 3rd one, he actually wears like a Jester's hat, so every time he spins, the bells are going crazy.
Yeah, the bells start ringing. Yeah.
And
so
it's just so nice.
You said that your favorite 6 shooter.
Yes.
Which one's your favorite?
I would have to say Jester.
Jester?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Jester. I also like Blade, though. Blade's really
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although he's
like the face of Puppet Master, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's like the puppet everybody knows.
Yeah.
So.
It's like 6 shooter. Come on. The one thing I didn't understand at the end of the 3rd one, it implies that he's going to where he ends up in the 1st one. but at the end of the third one, he has all these other puppets that don't even show up in the first and second movie.
Yeah.
It's like it's basically implying he went from there to the hotel. But it's like, where'd you lose those puppets in the franchise?
Yeah. No, there's certain ones that are the puppets of the franchise, like Blade, Tunneler, and Pinhead. They show up in like all of them, but like you don't always have Jester or Leech Woman, and sometimes you'll have other ones that pop up too. So yeah, you get different puppets sometimes, but it's nice to have change.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll move to my last movie, and this one is not really a horror movie. It's definitely more of a thriller, especially like a crime scene thriller, and that is Seven. For those who have not seen this, it's great.
Watch it now.
So it came out in 1995, and it's got Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. And
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
He actually won an award for this movie for like being the craziest serial killer or something like that.
Yeah, he played John Doe in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it had Gwyneth Paltrow. She was a side character.
Yeah. So it had a really good cast along with the storyline, and pretty much it's like a investigation series where Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are investigating these crimes where this person is killing individuals based on their 7 deadly sins. And
the way he kills them is grotesque.
Yeah. So
like some of those ones are like, ooh.
You don't really get to see like
you don't get to
the
see
murder or
him
anything,
killing
but
them.
you get to see
You get the
all of the crime scenes as they're investigating these, and it's pretty gruesome actually with what you know pretty much walk into with them as they're investigating these.
So what are some likes about this movie?
Basically set design. Like every frame in that movie looks pretty good. Like it's a really good looking movie, and then every like crime scene they go to is really nicely set up, and it just looks disgusting in every one, and it's just so good.
Yeah. I actually like the fact that they did the whole serial killer from the 7 deadly sins, and you know, it just, I don't know, it was a great plot. It really was. I love Morgan Freeman as an actor. I think he's done awesome work, and just, I don't know, the way that the whole storyline goes, it flows very well too.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
The relationship between Brad Pitt's detective and Morgan Freeman's detective is really good in the movie.
Yeah.
Like they start the movie not knowing each other, and by the end, like they're best buds.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, they did just amazing with the crime scenes for sure. Especially like now that when I go back and I rewatch this now with my experience with the fire department, I can tell you now if I ever walked into a crime scene like that, I'm walking right back out. I'm not, I'm only a volunteer. This is not my job.
I don't get paid enough for this.
I don't get paid at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's one where they go to Sloth and they have air fresheners like hanging from the ceiling all over the house, and it's still like
there must be like
horrible.
1,000 air fresheners like hung up, and they walking through it, and it feels like a curtain that they're walking through, where they're walking through and pushing all the air fresheners aside, and you get to the guy and he's just horrifying.
Yeah, and they're all gagging and stuff because they can still smell it.
Yeah,
and
that actually with the seeing that in the movie, you're just like, okay, you're like, you know, you can imagine that you are smelling this along with them, because it you know, they actually do a very good job of making it seem like, okay, even as the audience, you're walking through this and you're smelling this.
Yeah, no, they did really good with that. And, you know, I'm not quite sure if they had professionals help them out with this, like maybe people who have been on crime scenes or even medical or anything like that, but they did really good. Absolutely really good.
Yeah, they did.
So out of all the kills, which one was your favorite?
what's in the box.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
See, and even that part, I mean, that's all you get is what's in the box. You never get to see what's in the box, but you know what's in the box.
You know what's in the box. The ending.
You know what's in the box, and that is just, I mean, that's just as creepy as the crime scenes.
Yeah.
Because you know what's in there, but they don't even show. There's no blood, there's no nothing. It's just a box.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the plot and the box scene at the end, you're just like, oh man.
Right?
Right.
It was you're just like, oh no, okay, please no.
It was one of the few movies where, like, in the end of the movie, the villain wins. And it feels like a good movie either way.
That is true.
Although he does die.
Yeah, but that was his point.
I know.
Yeah, because his whole goal was to kill 7 people from the 7 deadly sins and whatnot.
And he had a sin
and
himself.
He killed 5 people, and then Brad Pitt's character was supposed to be anger, and he was envy. And so, for him to win, Brad Pitt had to kill him, and Brad Pitt ended up killing him. So he won at the end. Yeah,
it was a really good movie. Do you have any dislikes about the movie?
Oh, God. I don't know. That's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question.
I don't know if I would. Yeah, I don't know if I would have any dislikes about it because they had such great stuff in it. They had great actors. They had great crime scenes. They had the great plot. I don't think they're. As far as me, I don't think I would have a dislike.
The only dislike I might have is like, I would love to see the kills in action, like watching like him setting up the murders or whatnot. But that's part of the best part of the movie is like him walking into the crime scene. This is the first time you're seeing it. And it's all done.
Yeah. See, and if you want to see the kills, I guess watch Slasher, because Slasher, the first season's the 7 deadly sins, so it's kind of like 7 in that aspect. But you do get to see the kills in Slasher.
So yeah, that would be my only dislike. It's not even a real dislike. It's just like the movie was good without it.
Yeah, no, I think my only dislike is also my like is the crime scenes, because I liked them so much.
Are they not medically accurate?
No, they're fine.
Ooh, something she likes. Wow.
But with my experience now I go back and I watch it, and it's like it's horrifying because I have my experience, and I know if I were to walk into something like that, nope,
you would walk out.
I would walk right back out. So this is all you.
It's all you, buddy.
I quit. And so I think that's my dislike, only if I were to have experienced personally. But it's also my like. So
yeah, you like it so much that it can dissuade you from.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's just I don't know. Hard to explain.
Yeah. That'd be a podcast in and of itself.
Yes. For all those first responders out there, I'm pretty sure they understand. They're like, yeah.
I'm sure they would have to.
Yeah. And that concludes my 5 movies. Next time we'll be going over the 70s.
That would be mine.
So she'll be doing her first hosting. So me and Jason kind of been hogging it a little bit, but...
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
That's all right. You guys are better talkers.
So down below, click and like or subscribe to our channel and see more of us. And I hope you like so far.
Yeah. And thanks for watching Ghoulin Around.
Keep ghouling.
Keep